So we got Model 3 down. We're gonna start on Model Y today. I know this is taking a little bit longer to get these videos out than I promised. Been running into some client stuff, some OEM issues, working on some projects with them. So I'm getting these out as fast as I can. Bear with me. So we're gonna get into Model Y. I'm gonna do it like we always do it. Gonna show you everything you need to know for towing roadside. We've done enough times. I don't need to go through everything we're gonna do. So let's just get after it. So on the Model Y, it's kind of the same as a Model 3. Door handles act the same. Push on the back, pull the front of the lever out, opens the door. Vehicle's sitting here with the mirrors folded in like it is here. It's locked up. Again, have a key card. Present the key card to the B-pillar. One time, mirror unfolds, vehicle opens, allows us to get in. So we talked about this last time on the Model 3. We talked about doing a lockout in the vehicle. If you are in a situation where you have to do a lockout in the vehicle, remember that this B-pillar is glass. So we want to make sure we don't damage this B-pillar. We don't damage naturally the door glass. It is a convertible door, so there is no frame around the door. When you're doing a lockout on this vehicle, what you have to keep in mind is that this window is stuffed up in this weather strip here. If you watch this window, come in here close, Phil. If you watch this window, the window short drops when the door opens to allow the door to open easier. When you close it, it goes back up. So when you're doing a lockout, you're kind of fighting getting the window out of here, trying to get behind the glass to then get down and reach the manual release in here on the door. See if we can get our light good. Manual release is right there on the front of the door. What you want to do is reach in here with your long reach tool, catch the manual release, pull it up, open the door. If the vehicle is dead, this window is not going to short drop. If the vehicle has power and you're trying to get into it, once you pull this, the window should short drop, allow you to get in easier. Kind of take it easy trying to get in, make sure the window does short drop for you. Honestly, if you're going to be doing this and you know the vehicle is dead, it might be easier to just go up and connect the jump box to the 12-volt battery under the front cover. We'll get into jump start here in a little bit, just to energize the vehicle so this window will in fact short drop for you, allow you to get in easier. As we talked about on the Model 3, if you're in an emergency situation where you have a collision event and someone is trapped in this vehicle, you need to get them out, and you're having to take out a glass, occupant is unconscious, they can't get out, whatever the reason is. This is a laminate glass again. This is built like the windshield where it's a pane of glass, laminate, pane of glass. If you try to take this glass out, this one's not gonna go off like a bomb like tempered glass will. The rear glass is tempered glass, so again, if you have to take a glass out in some emergency situation, not just for sport, in some emergency situation, this tempered glass will go off like a bomb, like tempered glass customarily does. So if you're in a situation, you gotta take that glass out, it's gonna make your life easier. And then you can come in and work on this release in this rear door. There is a manual release in this rear door. So on the rear door of the Model Y, you come in here, you pull this little rubber tray out, and down here, you do have a release to get this door open. It's right here. Pull this little red tab, door comes up, just reach in here. That's your manual release for this rear door. So if you are in an emergency situation on a Model Y, like we talked about last time with the Model 3, say you're in a situation where someone's trapped in the car and you're having to get them out of the car, you want to try to take out this glass because this one will go off like a bomb like tempered glass does, then you don't have to try to reach in and get that door. It might be easier to take this out, open this door, and then do what you got to do through there if you're assisting fire and rescue or however that situation goes down. There is a release on this rear door on the Model Y. So operation of the Model Y is nearly identical to operation of the Model 3. Again, we have a key card. If you want to do anything with the vehicle, you really have to have the key card or a key fob remote. The key card seems to be the most popular thing. If you're dealing with an event where the customer is using phone as key and they're not around, none of this is going to work. You're going to have their phone, or you're going to have the key card. So once again, if you want to do anything with the vehicle, move it, make any of this operational, get it in tow mode, you got to have the key card. Again, so when you get in the vehicle, you'll take the key card, present it here to the console again, foot in the brake, you'll get the tone, your park will light up, your little seatbelt guy will light up, you can shift the vehicle to drive from there. So if you need to do anything with the car, you're gonna need the key card to turn it on. So again, operation's really simple on this one. This shift stalk operates just like a Mercedes-Benz. So once the vehicle is on, go all the way down for drive, all the way up for reverse. The button on the end is park. If you want to get it neutral, little half click down. If you're trying to tow the vehicle, this is not the means to get it to roll. So we're sitting here in neutral, car's rolling, and if I take and I open the door, the vehicle will just automatically default to park. I was trying to use the electronic switch. It wasn't allowing it. It was not allowing me to open the door while the vehicle was rolling, but I used a mechanical one. Door opened, vehicle defaulted to park. So going to neutral, doing the little half click down is not a means to make the vehicle roll to load it for towing. We'll go over that in the preparation for towing. So we have to tow a Model Y. Towing a Model Y is extremely easy. Providing you have 12-volt power, you can get it in transport mode. Moving these cars is extremely easy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna naturally open the front trunk. Our tow eyelet lives right here in the floor of the front trunk. We have a front connection point here. Naturally, we have our jump leads on the back of there, so we're gonna wanna remove these jump leads. Push these 2 little tabs in. Those leads come off. Put this somewhere safe. It's a painted deal. Put it somewhere safe, it doesn't get scratched. I'm gonna put it right there since we're not really towing the vehicle. Tow eyelet. This is a left-handed thread tow eyelet. Come down here. Simply screw it into the bumper beam. And on these tow eyelets, here's the trick with these things. You wanna go all the way in to the bumper beam. Get it to the bumper beam, seat it in the shoulder of the tow eyelet, and you're good to go. These don't go in and then come back out half a turn. Don't put a cheater bar in them. These wires here, I usually just tuck them back in there so they're not flapping around and tapping the bumper covers you're driving on the highway. So get those back in there where they belong. The Model Y does have a rear tow eyelet provision. We'll go back there and show you that really quick. So we do have a rear connection back here on the rear of the Model Y for a tow eyelet. But as it would be, this vehicle is equipped with a trailer hitch. So if the vehicle is equipped with a trailer hitch, you cannot use the tow eyelet as a rear connection point for the Model Y. So what you need to do is remove this hitch cover from the vehicle. Be patient, you know. If you had like a little hook tool, you could get behind it, or a flathead screwdriver, you can work it off. Panel is a little bit temperamental to get it off. Nonetheless, it will come off. There are no tabs in here. I know you guys like to reach in there and get them with the little mini J's on the tabs. There are no tabs on this trailer hitch. So usually what I do with these 2x2 boxes is I just take an endless loop, a short endless loop, and fold it in half and get a hitch pin and simply insert that endless loop in the hitch, install the hitch pin, pull it back and catch the hitch pin with the strap, and then just use this as a connection point to then load the vehicle. Again, you will need a hitch pin, you'll need a clip to make sure you have a solid connection, you have a positive connection to the vehicle. That way your hitch pin doesn't slide out. But this is actually the easiest way to load it from the rear, and conveniently it's centered so you're not dealing with this offset angle going from the winch out to a tow eyelet for you guys that don't like to do an offset pull. So this is actually an easy way to bring it up in the back end because it is centered. It's a good positive connection, and if you have a trailer hitch, that's how you're doing it. So when you're making connections on the front of the Model Y, this is the plan really with any vehicle, but I'm gonna reiterate it just so the people in the cheap seats hear it. Install a tow eyelet, make your connections to the vehicle, and you wanna make all connections to the vehicle. Ensure that your winch is not in freewheel. You have control of the vehicle. So when you go inside and you put the vehicle in transport mode, you don't have a rollaway and the vehicle ends up down there at the McDonald's in the playground with the kids, and then somebody gets you on video and they put you on the YouTube or the World Star or the TikTok or wherever they put you on, and then we're all gonna laugh at you. So you wanna make sure you always maintain control of the vehicle. So make your connection, ensure your winch line is not in freewheel, draw on your line tension so when you put the vehicle in neutral, it doesn't even wanna roll a little bit. You've got 100% control of the vehicle. So let's go in and talk about how to get the vehicle in transport mode. So we have all of our connections made to the vehicle up there, tow eyelets in it. We're connected to the winch line. Our winch line is not in freewheel, so when this vehicle starts, when we get this vehicle to a state where it will roll, if we're on a hill, it doesn't roll and go that way and end up down in the McDonald's playground with the kids. So we're connected to the tow truck. Now we're gonna get this vehicle into transport mode. So this is really, really easy. Again, you have to come in here with the key card, present the key card to the vehicle. If the vehicle is dead, you can do a 12-volt jump to get it to go into tow mode. Even if you can't get a jump start, you can energize a 12-volt system to then get into transport mode. So from any screen, come down here in the lower left-hand corner, press the vehicle icon, come down here to service, tap service, go over here to towing, tap towing, and you'll see transport mode here. And you try to press it, it doesn't do anything. What it's asking you to do is place your foot on the brake. You'll see it lights up black, so I'm pressing the brake, lights up black, now it's blue. So what the vehicle has done is it's released its park brake. The vehicle will now free roll and can be loaded to the carrier. From there, you'll load the vehicle to the carrier, strap it down with 8-point kit, come back in here and either press the park button, which will then turn transport mode off, or just come in here and press transport mode again and it'll turn it off. From there, deliver the vehicle to the service center. Again, you have to get in here, go through all these gyrations to get it into transport mode where it'll roll, unload it, deliver it, you're good. Okay, so this transport mode for Model Y and relocating the vehicle, I want to talk about that for a moment because there's an excerpt from the owner's guide I want to read so people understand the limitations of moving these vehicles around. From Tesla's information, transport mode is only intended to allow for winching of Model Y onto a flatbed truck or repositioning the vehicle out of a parking space. While in transport mode, the tires are allowed to rotate slowly, under 3 miles per hour or 5 kilometers per hour, and for a very short distance, less than 30 feet or 10 meters. So what that means is if you have a vehicle that is on the 4th floor of a parking structure, you're likely not going to want to get the vehicle in transport mode and then try to roll it all the way down. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have a thermal event in one or both of the motors, and you're going to have a problem that you really don't want. So if you're in a parking structure and you need to get it out, you really need to get a wrecker and dollies in, get a hold of the vehicle and then relocate it out and then put it on the carrier and transport it to the service center. So you have a Model Y Tesla that has a dead 12-volt battery, needs to do a 12-volt jump start. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna come down here to this tow eyelet, and you're going to remove the tow eyelet, and on the back of this tow eyelet is a set of jump leads, positive and negative. And all these do is simply, when the vehicle's dead, naturally you make your positive connection to the red wire, negative connection to the black wire. All these do is actuate the front trunk latch to open the trunk from up here. So if the vehicle's dead, you will not enter it. There is no mechanical release. The trunk release is in the touch screen in there. So this is when the vehicle's dead. This is the only way to get the front trunk open. So energize the leads, front trunk opens. From there, we're going to get in here and we're going to remove the service panel, make our connections to the 12-volt battery, and then do the jump start. We got a visitor back here running a concrete saw, cutting asphalt with a concrete saw, making a bunch of noise. So if you hear it, you hear it. Can't do anything about it. Didn't know he was gonna be here. So anyway, let's talk about jump starts. The jump start on the Model Y is almost the same as it is on the Model 3. Getting to it is a little bit different. Again, our service panel's got to come out. Again, we are dealing with a lead acid or a lithium ion in this vehicle. Again, the lithium ion cutoff is December 2021 in the Fremont plant because we are in the States. December 2021 is the transition date between lead acid and lithium ion. Post 2021 in December will be lithium ion. Somewhere in that month will be both. Before that will be lead acid. This is a lithium ion vehicle, so we will walk through how to do a lithium ion jump start. So again, the transition panel needs to come out. So transition panel's out, and there's not direct access to the battery on the Model Y like there is in the 3, but it is relatively easy to get to. So this is your HEPA filter on the Model Y. All you want to do is look for your battery jump start icon, which is right here. You'll pull this forward. There is a remote jump post right there for the positive side. So pull your little red boot off. That is your positive remote jump post. So you'll connect your positive side there, and then the ground side of this affair will be on the bolt right here in the strut tower. So gonna make our positive connection, negative connection. Then when you disconnect, naturally, negative, then positive. You always want to disconnect in the opposite order in which you connect. So once you have the connections made up here, energize the jump source, the jump box, and you want to give it a minute or two. Mirrors are folded in. It's an indication the vehicle's locked. Again, you have to take your key card, present it to the B pillar, and on the lithium ion vehicle, procedure is leave the jump source on the vehicle for a couple minutes, open the door, enter the vehicle, present the key card to the console. Like always, the vehicle shifts into drive, and once it drive away, it indicates that the vehicle is going to go ahead and self-recover its 12-volt battery. Place it back in park, come out here, disconnect your jump source, button everything back up. You're going to be good to go. If at any time, be it lithium ion or lead acid in these jump starts, if you come around and the vehicle will not let you in, let's say the vehicle's locked up, come around here, mirrors are folded, it will not let you in. You swipe the card, doesn't let you in. There's an indication that either you don't have a good connection up here on your 12 volt or it is not going to self-recover. I've not seen that happen before, but you know, unless a battery completely fails, it should allow you. So you come up, go in, and again, lithium ion, get in, present the key card, see if the vehicle will shift to drive. From there, the vehicle will take care of harvesting energy from the high voltage, back in the low voltage, self-recover the 12-volt battery, and you'll be good to go. If the vehicle does not self-recover the battery, and you do need to load it to a carrier, I would leave that battery connected up there because you can still get the vehicle into transport mode to load it to the carrier so you do not have to drag it. So if this turns into a tow event, leave it connected. find transport mode, load it, strap it down, deliver it. Okay, so I want to read something to you that's directly out of the owner's guide for Model Y, and it kind of explains the relationship between the high voltage and low voltage system in the Model Y. I mean, you don't need to understand this intimately, but it kind of gives you a 30,000 foot view of how these things work. So you kind of understand when you're dealing with jump starts and charging, how these systems support each other. So directly from the Model Y manual, it says, in addition to the high voltage system, Model Y has a low voltage electrical system. Its 12-volt battery operates the restraint system, airbags, windows, door locks, touchscreen, and interior and exterior lights. The high voltage system charges a 12-volt battery. 12-volt battery supplies power to the high voltage contactors, we'll revisit that in a second, allowing high voltage current to flow into and out of the high voltage battery. So how to best think about this is there is no alternator in an electric vehicle. So the high voltage system supports the low voltage system. So when all of this exhausts the 12-volt battery, then it will recover energy out of the high voltage into the low voltage to support the low voltage side of the system. Now, when both systems go down, so if you have an out of range situation where a customer drives a vehicle and it's out of range and there is no high voltage energy in the battery, the low voltage system will be continuing to support everything it has to support and be trying to monitor the state of affairs in the vehicle. And then subsequently the 12 voltage side will go down as well. So this will kind of lead into the next thing we're going to do, which is charging, doing a high voltage charge in the vehicle. So if you're dealing with a situation where you have to tow a vehicle to a charging station, you can probably fully expect the low voltage side to be down. I just saw something on TikTok regarding some tow operator who left a woman stranded with a Tesla vehicle. I don't know what the backstory is on that, but the short story is he didn't understand how to get this 12 voltage side up to open the charge door to then do a high voltage charge on the vehicle for the customer. So if you run a situation where you have high voltage and low voltage down, fully expect to do a 12 volt jump on the vehicle, get the 12 volt connected, leave the 12 volt connected, then go back there and open the charge door to then plug the vehicle in to then recover both sides of the vehicle. So that's where this is going. So let's go look at charging. Charge cords will get hung up in EVs. It's not that common. It does happen. Most EVs have a manual release. The Tesla Model Y does in fact have a manual release. And yes, that Model Y is plugged into that Ford, and that Ford is in fact charging that Tesla Model Y. But that's a story for another day. So what we need to do is we need to get in the car first, punch a couple buttons, and come back out here, open the trunk, and go at it in there. So we're going to come in the vehicle here, and we're going to, in this infotainment screen, we're going to go in here to charging, and we are going to stop charging. And then we're going to, for sport, unlock the charge port. Now, what we need to do is we need to go back out there, we need to open the trunk, and we're going to show you how to manually release that charge cord from the charge port inside the car. Okay, so just like Model 3, it's kind of in the same place. It's over here in this inner quarter trim panel. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and there is a tether inside of this little port in this quarter trim panel. We're going to get our fingers on this, and we're going to first pull this down. Then with the tether pulled down, and it only needs to go down a little bit, we're going to come out here and we're going to pull the charge coupler from the vehicle. That's how simple it is to get a hung charge cord out of a Tesla Model Y. So we've got all that towing and roadside stuff done on Tesla Model Y. We are going to now go to Joe's, we're gonna put on a lift, we're gonna pull some wheels and tires off it. We're gonna dispel some myths, and I've got some more of this crazy training that I sat through like 3 weeks ago. And I cannot believe what I'm hearing in this, and I'm gonna dispel some more myths because I know that some guys that watch our TikToks were in that class. So we're gonna talk about that while we have a lift as well. So let's take a walk under Model Y. This doesn't look much different than Model 3 did, but this one is a dual motor. So let's take a walk under here and take a look. So again, suspension components, stamped steel. You get a bunch of tube stuff back here that for guys that like to throw hooks, you can bend all this, you can break these plastic diffusers for guys that like to run cars down on winches. Again, we're not running Tesla Model Ys down on winches. It's 8-point retention. Bring it on with the winch on the tow eyelet. Do not throw hooks on this car. For some reason, you cannot get to the tow eyelet. Use a wraparound style bridle. We'll show you where to go with that up front, or a couple endless loops. Grab the front suspension, bring it on. Just don't throw hooks on these cars. Just try not to throw hooks on any EVs, especially if they've been in a collision event. And absolutely, if they've been in a collision event, do not run them down on a winch. I'm gonna keep saying, do not run these cars down on a winch. I know that guys get cars in collision events and they like to throw hooks on them, run them down in the winch because it's easy. If something in here is compromised and you go and do the old frame stretch deal with the winch line, you could start a problem you don't really want to have. So this is a dual motor. Model Y comes 2 flavors. It comes rear drive, all-wheel drive. So single motor, dual motor. This one is a dual motor. We'll show you some things up there that we didn't get to see on the Model 3. You know, once again, Teslas are really, when they're up in the air, their belly pan, suspension, wheels and tires is really, really uneventful under here. They're very slick. If they leave the roadway, they're relatively easy to get back on. But speaking to that, Tesla will not give any information, any guidance at all on off-road recovery. So if the vehicle leaves the roadway, they will not advise at all on how to get the vehicle back on the roadway. I've had conversations with them and they refuse to talk about it. So you're kind of left to your own devices on that. I know some of the guys that run some recovery training, they have some ideas. They have some really good ideas. I'd advise if you're doing a lot of electric vehicles and you're having them leave the roadway in weather events, you go visit those guys doing recovery training and have a conversation with them. They've got some really good ideas on how to handle these once they leave the roadway. If you are going to go in here with a wraparound style bridle or a set of endless loops to bring it on, this is a really good place to catch. Right here, you're clear of this. This looks like that's just a end link off a sway bar. So if you can get all the way out here, you'll get around that. You won't get all hung up in this. You can see this one is a front drive. There's your drive shaft coming out. We will lower the car and talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's extremely uneventful under the Model Y, just like it was in the Model 3. I'm gonna speak to this for the repossession guys because we always do it. Do not pick up the Model Y by the belly. You guys that wanna go in and do inverteds where you're hooked on a tire and the wheel is somewhere under there and you're on that belly pan, you don't wanna do that. You wanna stay away from that behavior. I'm gonna say this again. I understand that you guys are literally under the gun when you're doing repossessions. I did it for 20 years. I absolutely understand where you're coming from. This is a dual motor car. If you go in and you pick it up by the back end and you roll this front axle, we went through this when I read about how fast you could roll these cars and how far you could roll these. This isn't a deal like you're going in, you know, it's a Silverado pickup truck. If it rolls, it tows, and you know, all the other nonsense the industry talks when they just don't want to handle cars the right way. If you have that philosophy with the Model Y in a dual motor trim and you tow it away, you will likely have a thermal event in this front motor and you'll likely be buying a motor. It's just, you know, you can't say you haven't been warned because you have been warned. It will happen. It absolutely will happen. When you're dollying these cars, a bunch of guys hit me up on dollying the Model 3. I did a follow-up video on that last time on TikTok. If you're gonna dolly this car and you're gonna go a distance, try to put the dollies on the rear axle, and this is why. So this axle up here will not, it's not a braked axle. Does not have a parking brake on it. The parking brake is on the rear axle. So if something happens, and you know, I know we're supposed to strap cars into dollies, and I know everybody does it, but sometimes straps get loose on dollies. If you were to lose a set of dollies and you had the front end in the dollies and the whole assembly comes apart, it's happened to a lot of people. I've lost 2 assemblies in my time. By the grace of God, they're both at night, you know, out repossessing cars, no one's out, able to go back and pick it up. If you lose a dolly assembly and you're on this front axle and this thing comes down, there's no way you're gonna get stopped fast enough to prevent this axle from rolling and maybe doing damage to that motor. So if you are going to dolly it, turn it around, put the front end in the wrecker, strap it down really good, put the rear end on dollies because that axle's got a brake, and then God forbid something happens and it comes down on a set of tires, probably the worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna buy a set of tires, maybe a parking brake actuator, both of them, I don't know, but you're not gonna burn up this motor. So that's what we're trying to avoid. We're gonna run it down, get into the nuts and bolts of suspension, and we're gonna talk about this training concern. I'm having more and more problems with as time goes on. So let's lower it down and let's get in there and look at this. I sat through another training a couple weeks ago, and let me preface this by saying the fire discipline is putting on a lot of this training, and they know their space very, very well. I have yet to sit through one of those training events where they do not know their space, because they know their space, they understand. This last one I went through, I mean, this guy had, you know, the battery chemistry and everything down. A brilliant guy as far as fire discipline goes. I mean, probably the best event I've been to in the name of this EV training put on by somebody from fire. Very informative, you know, real long course. Where these trainings fall down is when they start talking about the vehicle platform and how tow interfaces with the vehicle platform. Unfortunately, they don't know what we need to know about these vehicles. So every time we put one of these in lift, I'm gonna pull these wheels and tires off. I'm gonna show you what's in these cars so you guys know, because they keep saying there's stuff out here on those wheel ends. And this is the biggest concern I have with this, is they keep saying there's stuff out here that's not out here. So just like on Model 3, there is no alternator, there's no generator, there's no regen braking going on out here at the wheel ends. There's no high voltage wires going in there. All the regen braking gets done in there, in the motor. This looks like a normal wheel end on really almost any European car with the kind of suspension geometry this thing has. Go ahead and stuff that camera in there, Philip. Look around. So what you're gonna see is, you've got a really big brake actuator here, parking brake actuator. You've got a couple wires in here. There's probably a wheel speed sensor wire right there. Other than that, like I said on 3, you got a spring, a shock, bunch of stuff in the name of suspension geometry, drive shaft, axle, whatever you want to call it, brake, rotor. It looks like the wheel end of a ICE vehicle. So there's nothing unusual here. What I will say is, and I'm going to keep repeating this, when you're 8-pointing these cars, keep that middle strap right here at the center wheel. Don't let this whole thing get behind the wheel, and then you have your short strap way down here at the bottom. I still see you guys doing that. When you get up here with your main strap and you get it down behind the wheel, you're gonna get down on stuff like this and you're gonna tear up this loom, maybe damage that connector, maybe get this wire, and you're just gonna create yourself a bunch of electrical problems you really don't want. So go back and revisit that video we did on 8-pointing cars. You have a really good example. Did it right over there on a GL Mercedes. So we show how to put those on for guys that don't 8-point cars a lot, don't really understand how they work. I kind of walk through how that whole thing works, but just be cognizant to keep your strap high and not get into any of this. Let's go up here and look at the front. So as I said before, this is a dual motor car, and you will see, this one has a drive axle right there. Unlike the Model 3 we had was a single motor. So, again, there's nothing really out of the ordinary in there. You've got a sway bar, an end link, another brake hose, another brake wire. There's nothing unusual in here. So if you are attending these trainings and they're giving you some information in here, you've kind of seen what this looks like in here. This is kind of what you're going to see in all these EVs. Unless you get into an in-wheel or an in-hub motor assembly, which I have yet to get my hands on one of those. The only one I know that's going to do that was Lordstown. And again, on the front end, there's nothing out of the ordinary up here. This is a all-wheel drive platform, as I previously said. If you watch the Model 3 video, the only thing we have in addition is now we have an axle up here, a drive axle. But again, it's a hose, a rubber hose, a brake line, rotor, caliper, sway bar, end link, tie rod. There's no high voltage stuff coming out here. I think that's about all we have for Model Y. I mean, these Teslas are so simplistic that this is nothing that should intimidate any of you. Okay, so as I said when we started this deal, I was hoping to have all these Teslas done by now, but we've run into, some client demands from other OEMs that we visit those cars. So this is taking longer than I really wanted it to, but next on deck is Model S. So we are on TikTok. If you guys are on TikTok and you want to see the TikToks, go over there and visit us over there. But beyond that, like, subscribe. If you are in the towing space, somebody's in the towing space that can use this content, do me a favor and please share so they can find it and know what you know. We will see you on Model S.